Hey, Strong Girls. I'm Molly Herford, sports journalist, ultra runner, cyclist, and author, and founder of Strong Girl Publishing.
And I'm Dr. Sasha Golish, executive director of Yellow Running Shoes, a researcher, engineer, elite runner, and your BFF who's breaking down the science of smashing barriers in women's sports.
Think of us as the intersection of science and culture for women and girls in sport. Each week, we'll dissect the latest headlines and cutting-edge research on female athletes.
Debunk myths about girls in sport. Talk about how hormones affect performance at every age, to the latest research in sports science around mental performance, nutrition, equipment, and so much more.
And we'll spotlight badass girls and women who are rewriting the rules of the game, sometimes literally.
Expect it to be nerdy.
And occasionally TMI.
But it will always be honest.
Whether you're a strong girl yourself or you're raising one, this show is for you. Welcome to Strong Girl Talk,
where sports science meets sisterhood.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to Strong Girl Talk. Sasha, how are you doing?
I mean, I'm about to talk and sound terrible, so...
No, you sound fantastic. I find the voice with a cold is actually a fabulous podcasting voice. It's a little deeper. It's a little gravelly. It's great. It's like smooth radio talk.
But I feel like that's my voice most of the time. I hear myself talking. I'm like, my voice is so deep.
Which is good, because at least that way we're not, there are sometimes podcasts with two women hosts or two men hosts where they talk and you have no idea which person is talking. I like that our voices are slightly different enough that we can at least tell which one of us is talking. Not that I would say I have a particularly high pitched voice, but anyway, we digress. This was a very big weekend for us. It was a huge travel week for you. And of course, we had the Shred Girls Book 4 Shred Girls Summer Camp launch at Mansfield Outdoor Center here in Ontario this weekend, which means we did not catch up on sports as much as we normally would, but we had the most fun time doing that event. We had, 20 girls out, all between like 6 and 10 years old, and just running around, riding bikes around, doing a scavenger hunt, very Lindsay and the Curse of Gemini Lakes, Book 4 coded activities. I was just so blown away by how much fun the weekend was. Actually, I had my good friend John was there helping us out, and he emailed me after and he said the coolest part for him was, seeing the girls, getting to know each other, playing together, hanging out was super cool. But for him, seeing the parents actually put down their phones and just engage with each other, engage with their kids, because we had the parents all stay on site. And seeing, the moms chatting with each other, there were so many dads there that all the parents put up with the kids, drawing on their faces with our tattoo markers and stuff in the beginning as everyone was kind of getting to know each other and, working out some jitters and stuff. But yeah, it was really cool and a really good chance, I think, even just for the parents to have this time to kind of talk to other Shred Girl parents and sort of connect on that level. And obviously super fun for the kids themselves.
Well, and so I have so many favorite moments there, so many. And I had my own paparazzi. I brought Tegan, right? I brought Kathy's daughter with me so that she could kind of be, one, capture photos of me, but see things from a different angle as an older kid, which was really special. We had this For All Mothers event, and what was so cool about it was my role was actually, to your point about the parents connecting, was making them feel less nervous so they could connect with each other. And they're all sort of from connected but disconnected neighborhoods, but it sounds like they're going to go ride at Hardwood together, right? I think it's the Wednesday night rides where then their kids can go ride together in the camp kind of style riding, and then the moms can go ride together. There was a dad there, and I walked over and I was like, you ride mountain bikes with my husband on Wednesday nights? And he was like, I do. Right? And it's a reminder of how big but how small the world is. We were cursed with weather. Oh my gosh. That wind.
The wind.
Oh, just the blowing things around. The girls were great. Nobody complained about being cold. So if I had to have one moment that was my favorite moment, it was all the little girls on their bikes chasing Peter around doing the skills. It was just, I was like, this is what sport is about. Having fun, but learning skills so that you can then go and actually ride the trails because you have the confidence to do it. It was, that was magic.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we ran a kids run with the N89 trail race crew, they had a, 50K down to a 5K going that morning. So then after that, we did a quick kids race, just a 1K loop. And when I tell you, you and I said this, like we've been on a lot of start lines as, semi-professional for me, very professional for you runners. When I tell you those girls took off at the start, I have never been in such a terrifying start in my entire life. Holy moly. I actually looked at the video and I still need to post it, but it's hilarious. It's so
I love
cute.
that.
It's so cute.
Well, okay, so here's really funny from the day. So by that point, the jet lag was kind of setting in. So across the international state line, and so May 30th was kind of like 42 hours long or something. I talked to Tegan the whole time. And the next day, Tegan and I were like chatting. And I was like, did you do the 1K? She's like, I talked to you the whole time. I was like, yeah, I have no recollection of that. That was like the start of the downhill of like, my brain no longer works today.
Well, you handled it just fine because we did a little chat after and you were very competent. So,
I do remember asking them, and actually, I think this is a great thing. Is what was the first question I asked? Like, tell me how you had fun today, right? Like,
love it.
how do we frame things and like, you know, for all mothers thinking about as a parent, how do we debrief? Like, tell me how you had fun today, right? And then
Hmm.
you did such a great job of like, hey, some of you had some really challenging moments, but then everyone like got themselves back together and finished. And that's a lesson. Like when you go out that hard, your lungs will burn. I promise you. I've been there. We've all been there. Right. And it's starting with the positive. And if the kid doesn't want to talk about it, and there were some kids that didn't want to talk about it, don't talk about it. Right. Just our goal is to have the kids come back. That's it.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, so good. So good. Yeah, just awesome. And of course, obviously, the book is available wherever books are sold. Definitely check it out if you want some summer camp fun. And okay, let's get into our quick hits for sport this week. What have we got?
Well, so Grand Slam happened again down in Philadelphia.
I'm so
I've
sad.
actually,
I missed it by a day because I was in Philadelphia by
oh,
Sunday
yeah.
night. So I saw the news like I saw the headlines about it and I was like, "Oh, shoot, if I hadn't been, hosting a summer camp the day before, totally would have been able to go down for it."
Well, and really, we should go down to Athlos in October because, like, we'll get to Athlos in a second. But Grand Slam track has gone down to 2 days from a 3 day event. The stadium was like full, but not full. I've run in Franklin Field. It is like an old, super cool, historic, like the sound in there is incredible. I got kicked by Elle St. Pierre, which, now that she's like, got some world championships medals, it's, yeah, understand why I got my butt kicked. Um, they cut out the second distance event. So all of a sudden, what happens is you have half the prize money and half the points. And so, what does this mean? And I guess actually, as I say this out loud, distance running has actually always had an advantage because they can run on the roads, and there's a ton of money in the roads. So maybe in the end, it is fair. I don't know. I don't know.
It's tricky. It's tricky.
It's
Yeah, it
really
seems
tricky.
like it seems like Grand Slam is very much plagued by, I would say, you know, complaints, but not a whole lot of like, here's the obvious solution, which I mean, I think is, track and field. It's cycling in the US. Like, this is
Yeah,
just, these sports are just, a little hard to figure out exactly what makes the most sense.
they need more fun in between. There's too much time between the events, and you need to have the time between the events, right? Like the athletes have to get it set up on the track. They need to do a few runouts, all of that. But something else needs to be going on. So Athlos. Athlos was the best track and field meet I have ever been to. Athlete, spectator. I went down in September last year, and they had a concert after, and they had 6 events. They crowned. Literally, there was a Tiffany's crown for the winner. That they did on-field interviews so that you could hear them in the stands. That same on-field interview went out into the web space. The web space you could watch Athlos for free, which is like huge, right? Like the goal is to get eyeballs on our sport, right? And the more eyeballs, the more sponsorship. I'd love to see future models of like sports where there's like really there can be grassroots participation where it's a free streaming service. Like TV is dead. I'm like watching the French Open on television in another room on television, right? Stream it for free, have really cool ads in between the events, right? That keeps people engaged. You think about things that you can, purchase for whatever you need. I just think there's such an opportunity, and maybe it was rushed. I don't know. I love track. I love track. Absolutely love track, but I don't know that this is it. I think Athlos is it. So Athlos, So 2026 is a team-based event. So you'll have jumpers, throwers, runners competing on a team, and I wonder what the ultimate crown is going to be. They haven't announced a ton, but what they did announce is there's three women: Gabby Thomas, Shakari Richardson, and come on, brain, Tara Davis Woodhall. They're not just, what are they? They're founding owner advisors. So you get people who are living this, who can also see it from the stands, and like they will create a spectacle and people will want to come watch.
Yeah, and that's what we need. And all of that comes back to the storytelling, right? Like
Yes.
all of it, all of the things that make it successful, it's storytelling and frankly, it's money. But money alone doesn't work. Storytelling alone, you know, frankly, like rarely works
Yeah.
because you can have the world's greatest stories, and if no one is there to, be pushing them out. And I think actually that's, we didn't talk about the fact that I finally saw Breakaway Femmes a couple weeks ago. And I would say like that's actually what I took away from it is that race had all of the storytelling elements. It had everything. What it didn't have was like the money behind it and then, as such, the media behind it, frankly.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how it ended up fading into sort of nothingness for a couple decades. And now we're back with Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, and the avec Zwift really points out the now there's money in it. And, the storytelling element obviously is, coming back up. I'd say there's still work that we could do in that space, but, it's getting there. And yeah, so it is like money plus storytelling or storytelling plus money. I'm going to lead with storytelling, put money second.
Well, agreed. And it's storytelling at the right time. Okay. Which
Hmm.
is a great segue into the French Open. So Ons Jabeur posted last week, I think it's on BBC's Instagram. None of the women's matches are in prime time, and they're not. So if you look at the quarterfinals are today, which is Tuesday and Wednesday. The men's matches are in prime time. So the women play, I was like 7:40, but it's 7:40 Eastern time, not 7:40 Paris time, 6 hour time change. But the women play in early afternoon. The stands are empty. So you can, to your point, you can tell the greatest stories ever. But if there's no eyeballs, it doesn't matter. And this is where this actually equity and equality would have been, going between one day as the women's match during prime time and the next day is the men's match during prime time. But we don't do that. And you want to know why no women's sports can't take off? Because there are people in offices holding us back. And the likeliness is there are men in offices holding women back.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Which is definitely why I'm very excited about today's guest, because we are talking about what happens when women are running events and how that changes the landscape a little bit. But before we get into that, you had to enlighten me on hoop queens because again, Molly's
Oh, yeah.
knowledge of team sports is a little lacking. We'll say we're learning, we're working on it. We're getting excited about it, but Hoop Queen starts this week. So for anyone who's new to this whole team sport thing, give us the rundown.
Okay, so one, Hoop Queens is like the best storytelling spectacle. So it's the first paid women's basketball league in Canada. And if you look at it in terms of like growth of the sport, Kisa started it. Kisa's the founder. She started it, coming out of COVID, right? So I think this is the third season and just the growth of it. She's done a great job storytelling at the right time. And you're definitely going to have to come to a game on a Sunday with Morgan and I at the Gold Ring Center at UT. But she saw this opportunity. She was like, people love women's basketball. We don't have a WNBA team here. Given COVID and unlikely as to when we might get one, why don't I just create a league for women? And so Kisa set out. She's actually got a billboard down. I think it's at Scotia Arena. It's like a 50-foot billboard. I should get a picture of it so we can post it. But um, just to put Kisa in perspective, Kisa's done one of the community sport leadership interviews. And when we started the interview, she said, well, what can I do for you, Sasha? It's like, no, no, I am here. I am here for you. And so Kisa sees this like this reciprocal relationship of like working with community and working with others to lift things up.
Can
And
we
then
get her on the podcast? Side note,
yes, for
please.
sure we can. After the Hoop Queen season,
Yes.
but she's got a girls league. And the girls league is free basketball and you show up, you get a jersey, you get great coaching. And it's just this like feeder system. And at some point, some kid that's playing in Hoop Queens Junior is going to be a coach. Some kid is going to be a future player. All the refs, all the coaches, she's so intentional about who she hires to make sure women have an opportunity, and she creates community. So Sunday, the first game. Sunday is the first game, and so Morgan and I are heading to it, and I'm going to some very fun event on Saturday before, like I guess some kickoff event at the Red Bull House in downtown Toronto, and then I go to OFSA to give out awards, and then at 6 p.m. I go watch Dax play Ultimate Frisbee. Uh-huh.
Just
All this
multi-sport weekend. I love it. Also hate that for you because I feel like at some point you really need to sleep, but
I've been sleeping. To be fair, I slept for 11 hours last night. And so, yes, the other thing is I'm getting up tomorrow morning. I'm flying down to Boston for the Female Athlete Conference. It's a biannual conference where we like talk about all of the things that are like cool sports science and female. And so, there are some differences between males and females. And I cannot wait to nerd out with you about it next week.
I'm so excited for that. You'll also have to look for our friend Celine Yeager, who is the host of the Hit Play Not Pause podcast. She's going. I'm excited for the two of you to get to hopefully connect while you're there. Yeah, and speaking of Celine and all things cycling, today on the podcast we have Ali Tetrick and Amy Charity. So Ali Tetrick is, I mean, cycling legend kind of is what comes to mind when I'm trying to describe who she is. Former professional road racer turned gravel racer, but also just I'd say gravel's hype woman in North America.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, that's the best way I can think to describe her. Huge fan of women's racing, has done so much for women's cycling, for USA Cycling. So just so fun talking to her. And, she and I have been in this space for 2 decades together. So like when we say, at the beginning we're like joking of just like having been in the trenches, and like truly we were. There's also, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like keep it in and I have to listen to check, but like we probably had a 20-minute thing before we started recording where we were all just talking about like Dyson Airwrap versus hairdryer versus straightener, which
Oh my gosh.
this is why I love this is
I
why I
love
love
that.
being able to talk to women and have this show, because we can talk about
So,
that at the same time that we're talking about like equal pay and all of these important things. It's also important
but
to
what's
me.
your motive? What's your choice?
I don't know yet. Apparently they have I've been shopping. They have a refurb site on Dyson where you can actually buy
Yeah.
like cheaper ones. So I'm excited about that, but I'm to go on a tangent here. I'm in a like hair debate right now whether I cut some of it or not. So we shall see. But that depend which one I would get depends on how long my
Yes.
hair
Yeah. Yeah.
is.
I've never owned a hair dryer, but I mean, my hair, like I come out, I floof and it's dry.
Yeah. Yeah, I do not dry my hair.
No,
As referenced by the fact that it always looks fairly atrocious, but that's beside the point.
I no,
Um,
I love the like natural curls. Okay, you have like okay, so like everybody else wants everybody's hair, right?
it's true.
And so you have like thick, naturally like wavy hair that like I feel like you take your helmet off, you like shake your head, and you're like, oh, Pantene commercial. I take my helmet off, my hair's like sticking straight up like a cone head.
Whereas I'm like, we would trade in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Right.
And then
In
we'd
a
probably
heartbeat.
both like hate it like a week later.
Yes.
'Cause,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that's
I need a Dyson. I'd finally need to buy my first hair dryer.
yeah, there we go. But then we also have Allison or Allie's former teammate and now founder of SBT Gravel, Amy Charity. So again, another woman who's been in it, been on kind of all sides of this. And SBT Gravel has done some really interesting things over the years, with all different types of athletes. They've really tried to make that event as inclusive as possible, I would say, and they've done a lot of work in that space. This year, they're doing this whole big thing to get more women out to it, to bring the numbers up. They started all of these like cool little teams, basically, where they're headmanned by or headwomaned by these rad women in cycling, including Allie, including Kate Varanov Zwift, Ellen Noble, so actually a couple of our like recent podcast guests. Funny enough, it's like we're all kind of interconnected here. And we talk all about that and why stuff like that matters so much for, bringing up the women's numbers. Because, we talk about this all the time. Women's cycling is in a really cool place right now. It is growing. But if you don't have that from the ground up, if you don't have that really large, well, I'm going to flip my metaphor. If you don't have the really big funnel at the top, like at the entrance to cycling, you're not going to have as many women at the top. You're not going to have as many women coming through the pipeline and going pro. So we really need to get the numbers up, just at that new cyclist level in order to keep seeing the success of women's professional cycling. So it's all interrelated. So, yes, very exciting conversation. I had such a blast talking to these two. Yeah, I'm so excited for everyone to listen to it. And Sasha, I'm so excited to hear about the Female Athlete Conference next week. So, until then, everyone, yeah, let's get into this conversation and we'll talk to you soon. Yeah, I'm gonna need to get
Dyson to sponsor us.
Right. Just wrote it down. It's happening.
Dyson, if you're listening, we put on an event called SBT, and we are looking for a sponsor.
Yeah. Actively seeking sponsorships here. You know what? This is how every podcast should start, though, if we're being honest. Like, this is real life.
This is probably the best start of a podcast I've ever had. But
yeah, me too.
I love you guys, so there you go.
I hope you're recording. In fact, I feel like we're done.
And that's a wrap, folks. That's an air wrap, folks. Dyson, call us.
Blaze is like putting in headphones right now. He's like, why does she get so loud when she
don't want to hear any of this?
Okay. The question I was going to start with actually was really just like, Alison, what the heck is up? What have you been up to? I feel like I see you everywhere. You're doing all of the things. So I really just wanted to open with like, where are you in life these days? What's going on?
Oh boy, that's like a big question, right?
I know.
Where are any of us in life? I am having like just such a fun time discovering that, right? Like it's just like where you are and what moment you're in. And I'm so happy to be talking to you, Molly, and of course, Amy. Amy and I are best friends from a long time ago. We were teammates in 2015. And we ended up being roommates because we had jobs while racing bikes and both maybe a little neurotic. So very good roommates.
We were ideal. Ollie's my favorite.
Yeah.
So like you two were like the nerds that would like finish the race and be back, like open laptops while you're foam rolling, just working away.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And Amy asking me like what gradient the last climb is like 17 times, even though I told her 17 times.
That sounds about right too.
I'm in a beautiful spot. And like I said, like life is just interesting how it redefines as you're moving forward. And this is why I'm like so proud of Amy to watch what she's built at SBT Gravel, right? Like this is when she calls me and tells me she has this idea, I'm like, wow, that's big, right? Like, can you do it? Or, and I know she can do anything that she sets her mind to, but I think it's just fun to be here because Molly, you and I have known each other for a very long time as well. And we have grown in this industry and in this sport, like so much. And I just got the chills, but like sitting here with you two is,
I know,
it's how we evolve. And I have had to change my identity with cycling, like, or just like define my identity, I think is a better way to say it. Like, what is my like relationship with the bike? What do I want to do and why? And I think this is a unique conversation that we can have today is I can still race. Like I love racing my bike, but also I don't have to. And I don't want to do another interval to save my life, like never again. And I just did this event here in NorCal, Grasshopper Adventure Series, and I climbed real hard. And then the descents were muddy, and I was like, well, I can't hit my head again, right? So I'm descending, and this girl comes up to me. She's like, you would be really good if you learned how to descend. And I was like, please. Yes.
Tell me more.
But bless her heart, it was amazing. I thought it was the cutest thing in the world. And I thought, so Molly, this is just a long question, like answer to your question. But like, I was like, I chose not to go fast down this because I don't want to crash. I'm not getting like, no. And I'm having fun. But she was like trying to help me. And I was like, you know what? Oh, it's just like such a beautiful thing. So I think where I'm at is some adventure, 1,000 kilometers in Chile. I just signed up for my first ultra in November across Andes. I will race some, and but I think most of it to me is where I'm at is the bike is just a beautiful vessel to express yourself, to find that freedom. And I am so blessed to call it my job. And I ride a bike for a living. And so I also can give back to this community that has given me so much, and that's really important to me. And Molly and Amy knows this very well too, but I've died riding my bike. Like, I've been life flighted out, and I've had some really traumatic crashes and life experiences from bike racing. But it's also saved my life in so many ways, and it's meeting, people like you, and that we're lifetime friends, and then we can go back and we'll talk about what we're doing at SBT Gravel. But like, it's amazing where you can just define what the bike is to you, and it doesn't always have to be about results. And it also, you can give back to your community, you can inspire the next generation, or maybe you just like smell the flowers. So that's where I'm at. Just each day is a new adventure.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Also, I'm just picturing if it had been like a guy on that descent that was like, "Oh, sweetie, you'd be so much better if you just got better." Just like you just knocking him over.
It's true.
It was so cute. She was being so supportive. Like, she was
So
just
sweet.
She's like, you really have potential. You're pretty fast on the uphill.
You're going
You
so
could be,
much.
you
I
could
love
be
her so
somebody
much.
someday.
But like, I think though that is a funny like concept though, is where I think all three of us are in this career in this very niche industry, is that you're going to make that choice, like how you want
Yeah.
to show up, and we know the risk or we know the reward, and we get to decide. And I think that's a luxury and a privilege in a lot of ways. And
It
I mean,
is
this,
so true. Yeah. I
it's
mean,
so true.
being in an event where you don't have to race it, and you feel okay with that because we've been at this level where you're like, I've made it as a cyclist, and it's okay to be in the back. It's okay to take a picture. It's okay to not go hard or not do intervals anymore. And it takes a while to get there after racing at a top level, and it's really rewarding to be in that position. So it's great to hear you say that. I just came in somewhere near the very back of Trekka, and I was like, that's okay. Like, I didn't even look at results. That's
Yeah.
how it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an important place to be, and it takes confidence and
Mhm.
a lot of,
huge.
yes, confidence, and like you're, yeah, I'm just gonna go with confidence.
Yeah.
But we got here to this point, and racers are sometimes jealous. Like, they'll ask me like, "Wait, you don't care?" And I really
No.
don't.
No.
You just have
Started in the back,
fun.
finished near the back. Yep. Yeah.
But when you like question yourself, like I live life like on a ceiling fan, and I'm terrified of ceiling fans because they're above your head and they move, and I'm a house cat. But like, I live life up here looking down, and I'll double check. Like, do you really mean that? Like, I'm talking to Molly on a podcast, and I'm
Yeah.
saying like, "Oh yes, I love giving back to my community," and I'll be like, "Do you mean that?" I'm like, "Yeah,"
Yeah.
and
No,
it's awesome.
no, I love that you do those checks because people are like, but you could be faster, but you once upon a time could have done well. And it's like, no, I made conscious decisions the whole way. Like, you went slowly down those descents. If you really, really, really wanted it and it was the Olympics, you might have like flown down there and taken some more risks, but you're at a point where you don't need to do that anymore, and you're still getting so much out of it. And it is really nice to be in that position.
Isn't the bike so beautiful?
It
Really is.
is.
It really is. Okay, and Amy, I wanted to kind of open with like, we've mentioned SBT a bunch of times here. I mean, you started SBT, like how does one make an event like SBT Gravel? Like this event has such staying power, despite the fact that Steamboat is a really difficult destination to get to. I mean, it's
It is
gorgeous,
very hard. Yes.
but it's a pain in the butt. Um,
Yes. So
it's
right near Wyoming and Utah, in the middle of nowhere, Colorado.
it's not like part of a major series that like would have people like have to come to it.
Yeah.
Yet year over year, it seems like it is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now you have this Gravel Femmes Team challenge. Like how does this happen? How do you grow something
Yeah.
like this into what it's
Yeah.
become?
Yeah. That it's a great question. And it really part of it went back to like right place, right time. I have to say, like, this was 2019, and it was when gravel was about to explode. And we put the concept together in 2018. I had a business partner that was a brilliant brand person. He really understood how you build a brand, how you, and from every single piece of it. And one of the things we started with were, here are our values, here's what we stand for, here's how we'll make decisions. And I don't think most events, whether it's a running race or bike race, think about like your values. And I think he really brought that to us. And so it's like inclusivity is one of them. And we want it to be safe and it needs to be fun and we need to be credible. And these are like the things that we decided it needs to be challenging. It doesn't need to be over the top, you're going to kill yourself, but something that people aspire to. And those values are something that we lived on and it was integrated into everything we did. So I think that was the foundation. The things when I say we're lucky are like we live in Steamboat. Steamboat's a spectacular place to ride a bike. We have 600 miles of gravel roads and we live in a resort town. And that is absolutely unheard of. So you go to Vail, Aspen, Telluride, Crested Butte, they have resort towns, they have infrastructure, they have lodging, but they aren't surrounded by gravel. And we happen to have this ranching community next to a ski resort. And it's this magical combination. So I think that we were very lucky with. Our timing was really good. And then I was just coming off of pro racing. So I had friends like Allie who were incredible, legendary influencers in this market. And so many of my peers I could call and say, I'm trying something. Would you mind giving it a shot? And got a lot of people to jump in. And my partner he was a CEO of Smartwool, and so he had that background in those relationships at kind of that higher level, and he had the brand partners who took a chance on him. So the cyclist taking a chance on me, the brand's taking a chance on him, and being in this beautiful location and being at the right time. I think that was the magic formula that it'd be really hard to repeat that, but we put all of those pieces together. And I think the other key parts were I came from a business background, I came from a cycling background, and I absolutely love Steamboat more than any place on the planet. And so having those three sort of those skill sets or backgrounds or passions that led us to putting on this event were all the ingredients.
I love it. Allison, talk to me about like the first SBT gravel. Like, I assume you were there. What was the
Of
vibe?
course.
How did you feel about it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I won't tell Amy no. I mean, it's really hard to tell Amy no in general.
Oh,
But it's just it was so special and we had a long conversation about it riding
yeah,
together and
yeah.
she actually was able to sneak away from her job for a second and take a ride with me, which meant a lot, right? I
That
mean,
was
it's
amazing.
we were just
It was
talking about
surreal
how
to be riding with Allie in Steamboat. It was just like everything in my life, something came together that happened correctly to
it
have
was like, yeah, the
us
stars
together.
collided in this moment. And, Molly, you and I were just talking before the show started on like how hard it is to connect with people, at Sea Otter or something, you're moving around. And I mean, Amy and you were there and we saw like but 90 seconds of each other. But Amy was very generous with her time and spent that moment. And we got to talk about, life, love, living, crying, just and then just celebrate that I was where she lives, this place that she has told me about for years, that's so special to her. And now is so special to me. I come back every year. So I did say at the beginning of the show, like, I was just so proud of her. And I am so proud of her for what she's created because that's a big risk. But then also, we were talking, Amy, in this ride about being in the right place at the right time and making
Yeah,
those I don't want to call them risky decisions, but let's call them bold decisions where, I mean, it's scary.
yeah,
And you kind of were questioning, you're like, oh, but I just lucked out because of this. I'm like, no, you didn't
yeah.
luck
You did.
out. You just said yes. And then you showed
Yeah.
up. And Amy has shown up for me so many years, and she shows up for everybody at this event, and I will always show up for her. But
Oh,
the power of just showing up, like, that's what I felt like, just so goddamn proud of her, but also like, the power of showing up. And so not to discredit like you, Amy, telling me like, oh, I was just lucky because I had this great business partner or I
yeah.
just this like you like no, that's you being bold and saying yes and pushing forward and making this event that changes lives because it's not just a race. This is something
Yeah,
that
for
is
sure.
so much bigger. So I'm
And I
real
will
into it,
say,
Molly.
Al, like
Sorry,
I
but
no, I
I
did
like
like
care so
yeah, that
much.
I would if you can like pause on the showing up, I think that is like and Allie does the same. And I think it is like that if there's like advice you can give anyone, anytime. It is like, that's it. And I think it's being there for the person. And we often think our lives are too busy or we don't want to be part of something. And I think that is the answer. And having those core people, and Allie is certainly that person to me as well.
Well,
So
and it's an
yeah.
investment, right? Like, I mean, I asked Blaze because, we're going to buy our airplane tickets, we're going to buy our
Yeah.
registration, we're going to,
Yeah.
like find
Yeah.
housing. And I'm like, but it's worth it. And I am
Yeah.
like so happy because now when I go to Steamboat, I know all the roads. You're there, of
Yeah.
course. I have good friends that live there now, which is going back home, like year
Yeah.
after year. And I can go and race it. I did lead boat. I've been through all like renditions how SBT has like gone. So this year, like super excited about this Femmes Gravel Challenge because I mean that's something that once again Amy asked me if I could do, and I don't tell Amy no.
Allie, I need you.
Help,
Okay.
help.
It was like 30 seconds, and I was like, okay, sure.
Okay.
I'll do the
Cool.
Saturday ride and the Sunday ride. Right on. Yeah, let's do
That
it.
sounds good.
Yes, and I want you to explain what the Femmes Team Challenge is. But first, I also wrote down, as you said, you just got lucky with like starting it in 2019. I was like, hang on a second, because there are so many companies and people that will say like, I was so unlucky because I started XYZ in
Oh.
2019, because we
Oh
know
yeah.
what happened after that.
The 2020 did not go the same. Yes.
So, like,
Yeah.
you could very easily have, come at this and said, like, oh, so unlucky I started it. But, like, it turned out well. So it's easy to go back and say, like, oh, it was luck. But yeah, I'm with Allie. This was not
Uh,
luck. There is a lot of, there's a lot that
the
goes
other
into
pieces
that.
of it.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, no, there is for sure. But to be an optimist is also really is a good characteristic, and when you go through those hard times in business. So yeah,
100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. It's on one hand, I'm always like, oh, we should acknowledge the role that luck plays and stuff. But then I'm also like, you know what? As women, I think we're way too quick to like quickly chalk up all of our successes
yeah,
to
that's right.
just
Like
luck. So now I'm like, nope,
yeah,
no luck,
we're
no
calling
such
you out.
thing.
Yep, that's
That's what I
great.
was saying. Like it's Amy's like dedication, vision, hard work. And I mean, it is scary to say yes to things and push forward. But I mean, is it luck
Yeah,
or is it your
yeah,
destiny?
yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
for sure.
Yeah. And okay, so you mentioned inclusivity as one of like the original brand pillars. And this year, you're really stepping up the amateur women's side of things with the Gravel Femmes Team Challenge. So give us the quick like who, what, when, where, why, how
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, and how this came about. So we've changed this year to have a ride and a race. We have two separate days. And when we opened up, as we always do, we have approximately 30% women who sign up for the ride, which is it's good. It's not where we want to be. We'd love to be at 50, but SBT's always been right around 30%, which in the cycling world is pretty solid. We also opened up our race day and we got the who's who of professional gravel racing women, which is outstanding. We're excited to bring back all these top level pros, but amateur racers, the percentage was in the teens. I was like, what happened? And so I was trying to get like, why would so few want to do the race, even relative to men? It wasn't like people didn't want to race. It was women, amateur women specifically, did not want to race. And so I reached out to a handful, and their answer was, I don't really feel like a racer. Like, I don't belong. And I get it. Because, like, in previous years, we had a mass start event, and you didn't have to define yourself in December like I'm going to race, I'm going to ride. You did whatever you felt like that day. And so the fact that we separated it into a race and a ride, you had to be a racer, and women didn't identify as racers. And so our thought was, how do we get more to do this? And what would make you feel comfortable? And the thought came to us is, I think people like if Allie were racing, I'd race with her. Like I know it's like she's a former teammate. Like that feels great. Like we'd stand on the line together, and I'd tell her like, "Uh-oh, I'm about to pee my pants," and she'd be like, "No, you're not. Just you're fine." Like something would happen, or I forgot all my food, and she'd have some. Like something would happen where you can support one another, and that's what teammates do. So our thought was, what if we put together a team style race for amateurs? And we reached out to a handful of women like Allie, like Ellen Noble, some really dynamic, strong women who could help lead amateur women into feeling a bit more comfortable in completing this 70-mile race. And so we had a handful of captains, and then we opened it up to teams. So we have, a team from Boulder with Meredith Miller, and they have Kristen Legan. They're going to be really fast and they're going to crush it. There's a team from Steamboat. This everyone who works at a company that has the word Alpine in it, and they're the Alpinistas. Like, there's just some funny themes there. And then we have the captains like Allie, who are going to lead her team, and they can ride together. They don't have to, but the scoring works. So top three best riders on a team that can be any side are the ones who are scored. And there's a prize purse that Zwift has generously offered. And then there's another prize for the most cohesive team. And that can be anything. It could be your team name. It can be your nail polish. It can be your kit. It can be the mother-daughter combo. It can be anything. And that will be subjectively voted on. And then so they will also get a prize purse for that. So, but the whole purpose is more women on the line, more women feeling welcome, more women feeling like they belong, and dabbling in this team competition.
I love it so much. And I especially love it because we're talking kind of on the heels of Ironman making the announcement of like Ironman World Championships going back to Kona and cutting
Yes.
down on the amateur women's field. At the time,
Right.
you are actually like dialing up.
Embracing it.
Like
Yeah.
you added spots to make this happen.
That's right. That's right. And I think like pro gravel racing women are in a pretty good spot. Like, I think what Lifetime is doing is really creating a pathway for getting a lot of acknowledgement, getting pay, getting sponsors to recognize riders. And I think that, at least compared to when Allie and I were racing, that Gravel Pro has a pretty good future longevity path. But the amateur woman, with road racing going away, there aren't categories. They're getting lost in the mix to some sense. And I think being there and like standing on that start line and being a little nervous and doing a race, like that's fun, that's exciting. And I think with a little bit of support from leaders like Allie, that makes it like all the more something that you would be willing to give a shot to.
I love it.
Love it.
One of the girls but just quick search, there's a girl who's 16, and she had somebody who I know, her dad's friend, reach out to me and said, do you think she would belong in the amateur race? Like, she was a little nervous to sign up. And that was another reason to put this whole program together. I was like, of course she'll be fine. I mean, maybe I could pair her with somebody, but she'll be fine. And then that also helped with this idea. So we have a up and coming 16-year-old from Nebraska. She's paired with Ellen, and just having, yeah, we'll see how she does. But this got her over the hump to try something that was really scary for her.
Oh, I love that so much. Allie, what's your team's like vibe, secret sauce? What are you bringing to the table
Yes.
here?
I just designed t-shirts, so
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's
Ryan,
amazing. Yes.
I texted Ryan and Amy and I'm like, what do you guys think? So it's AMT Cowgirls, but of course I took out all the vowels in Cowgirls because that's what you do at SBT, I think.
Yes, we don't do vowels.
No
Yes.
vowels allowed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but AMT I kept, but it just the shirts have CWGRL on them, and then my little logo, and then we're gonna do like SBT logo if Amy lets me.
Of course. Yes.
A little just I think the ladies should have some shirts, bandanas, of course. The vibe, I am looking forward to meeting my team and solidifying what vibe that is. I want
Yeah.
it to be fun. I want us to stop for snacks and pictures
Yes.
and ride together, however that looks. Because I mean, I have raced SBT like we talked about, and I have ridden SBT, and the aid stations are amazing. The people are amazing. The views are awesome. But I think a lot of times when you're racing, you're just staring, 10 feet in front of you, following a wheel. Hopefully the wheel's not 10 feet in front of you, but if you've ever ridden with me, it is 10 feet in front of me because I hate drafting. But I have trust issues.
That's like
Trust
one of the
issues.
most profound pro roadies in our country. But yeah.
I know. I'm like, drafting what? Drafting's cheating. My Anyway, I'm a very steady rider. I think we're going to talk about like a lot of stories, just have a good vibe. Like I think it's going to be about community, expressing ourselves, riding our bikes throughout this like beautiful gravel views and not being I don't know. I think it's not to shy away from enjoying the scenery. The aid stations, like I'm not going to be like wear a camelback and carry all your snacks because we're not stopping. I think we can be efficient. I think that's a good thing to teach people for longer rides is you can stop and enjoy, but also be efficient. And Celine Yeager is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. I know. And the first Unbound that I did was my first gravel race, and I won it. But
Amazing.
No big.
yeah, but
No, yeah.
something that she
Amazing.
said to me was forward progress, take care of yourself. And so it's just, are you moving forward? Are you going forward? And then taking care of yourself is, eating, drinking, and then also like talking nicely to yourself because sometimes the climb is hard and you want to be like, well, I should have trained more, or, I always make bad jokes about that, like what I say in my head and how we treat ourselves in our head versus how you would
Hmm.
treat, like I would treat you two versus how I
Right.
treat myself.
Yes.
For
Yes.
sure.
That
So
is
I think
so
that's
true.
the vibe is just I came back from this amazing experience at Fireflies Patagonia and 1,000 kilometers and they were long days. They're really slow and because it's hard terrain, very hard terrain, and everybody was so positive and no one quit, no one complained, and I think I want it to be that it's okay to complain, of course, but also just like are you moving forward? Are we changing a flat tire? Are we having sex? Cool. Are we taking care of each other? And I think that's like my vibe. And of course, a lot of cowgirl up and that stuff
Of
and
course, of
snacks.
course.
Those
Yeah.
those simple messages are so important though. Like I have those in my head and they come from like former teammates and they're the same things. Like, sit up, shut up, and eat. Like sometimes I tell myself that, and it's like sometimes it goes so far where I'm like, no, I don't like this. I'm not doing well. Everything's terrible. Life sucks. And then you're like, okay, shut up, head, and eat something, and you're fine. And just hearing you say like, yeah, move forward. It's so simple, but it helps you get through an event.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're creating here, Amy, these teams. Like it can be really daunting. And I mean, we're all three women in cycling industry, like we've talked about. And it's hard to like see people like us doing these things,
Yeah, yeah.
And when I did lead boat, so I did Leadville, my first and only mountain bike race. I'll leave it at that. Um,
Understandable. Understandable.
thanks.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then drove down to Steamboat post finishing Leadville to do Steamboat the next day. And of course, you can't race. Like I was too tired. So I mean, I was riding it. And I had this most amazing time with Hillary Allen, an ultra endurance runner. She's very incredible, and Betsy Welch. And we just latched onto each other all day. And we got through it because we were all doing, like, we were very tired, but we got
Yeah.
through this event together. And anytime men came up to like wanted to talk to us, we would say like tampon, you know?
Did you just get your period? I just got my period.
It's shocking how well that works.
Men are
But
terrified.
But Amy, that was like an OG way of doing this Femmes Challenge. It was just us getting through the day and we're smashed. Like, but we
Yeah.
talked about like life, love, like once again, like relationships and heartbreak and dreams
Yeah.
and failures. And 140 miles has never gone by so fast for how much my legs hurt from doing Leadville the day before.
God, that is insane. And that is such a great example of exactly what we want to accomplish. It's like you can do these things and having that support network and those peers and keeping each other positive is like, and you can really do them and you enjoy them. And your memory of lead boat is positive, which is wild because that is such an accomplishment. It's just
Sounds like
insane.
the
But how many
worst.
times do we go out and ride or have a goal and like you and I feel better if we're doing it together? Or I know that you're going to sign up
Uh,
as well and we both know
So
we're
many.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Like we're both like, pinch me. Are we really doing this?
Yeah.
And
And you
you
do,
are.
and you get through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it,
We've had so many crazy rides together. Like, I'm
we
like, I
have,
just planned out this nut ride. You want to do it with me? She's like, sure.
yeah, of
You know?
course.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the flip side of that is so many women and girls don't have that community, have never had
Yeah.
that team environment. I think, yeah, it's super easy for, you and for all three of us to be like, oh yeah, so you're in a race, and then you just kind of like pull in the couple of girls that are around you and like you make best friends with them and you talk to them the whole time.
Right. Yeah.
But like that's because I think we've all been on teams for a lot of years
Uh,
where like we're so used to that because that was just part of like what racing has like always looked like. I mean, maybe it wasn't always like quite as casually chatty, but it
yeah.
has always been like, okay, where are the girls around me that I can work with?
Yes.
And there is that like working together element. And I think a lot of women and girls don't have that. And the reason I started writing the Shred Girls books was because as I was interviewing like 13-year-olds to try to figure out like I just started interviewing 13-year-olds to be like, why are you still riding your bike? Because we knew girls drop out at this like just steep drop off between like 8 and 12 years old. So rather than be like, why did those girls quit? I wanted to know why the girls that were still riding
Interesting.
were still
That's a
riding.
great question. Yeah.
Because like it's a lot easier to kind of like add add more of what was working for them than it is to
Yeah.
solve the societal problems that we know are causing the girls to drop out. And every girl that I talked to, it was just like, well, my friends are riding, so I ride with them.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
it was their friends. It was having someone to ride with.
Yeah.
That's what it took. So
It it absolutely is. And I think if you asked Allie and I our memories of like racing together, I would say like in an Arkansas house, like in this crazy room, like I wouldn't tell you about our race result. Like we had some good ones as a team, but it was about like that relationship and that camaraderie. And like if you had me name my top 5 memories, they would all be like in that type of situation and not like in the race or the race
It's
result. Like who
it's
knows what
totally
else?
true when I think about our racing together and just like where our relationship has gone since. Like I'm still like Hunger Games team time trial camp.
Oh
Like
God.
me
Yes.
getting cut from a team and drinking way too much wine and then getting called up the next day with a
Oh,
blazing headache.
that I mean, yes. That we were in the Hunger Games. We were in the Hunger Games. That is a
But you
story
were
for another day.
that's such a
Yeah,
great story.
like
But it is though, I think, Amy, you're right. Like and Molly, it's what keeps us going. And I mean, it's knowing you guys, like I'm still in this sport and I'm not retired. This is my job and I believe in it. And it's because of women like you. And it's gonna be
yeah,
like the women that are lining up at SBT.
yeah,
Anybody listening. And, huge shout out to Zwift, I think for sure. I just, spent the whole morning watching the Vuelta, of course, but Zwift sponsoring this challenge as well as, of course, the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, Paris-Roubaix avec Zwift. Like it's insane. So hashtag watch the femme. Just
yes,
always
yeah.
watch the femme. Because the more we celebrate women, the more we watch women, the more successful it is, and the more we prove that like visibility is viability there. And I think that's just really important for like Amy, what you believe in at your event, and you've believed in it since day one. And to
yeah,
have, your sponsors, we have Wahoo, we have Zwift, that believe in what you're doing, that are also opening up these doors because these women want to show up, but we're so lucky to be able to lead them there.
yes,
And the messages I've gotten that they're nervous or,
yeah,
they want to know fueling or what to wear, I'm just
yeah.
like, no underwear in your chamois, first of all. But
Oh my
second
Yeah,
of
I was
God.
all,
literally just gonna chime in and say that.
It's very good advice.
it is. But, so I think that that's just so cool that we get to create memories like still together, like the three of us, and then also open that door to make other people feel welcome. And it's scary, like
Cycling is a funny sport that way, and I think there's always a look, and it took me so long to even ever feel like I even belonged in cycling,
sorry
and
for
that was
making fun of your shoes for 5 years.
yeah, oh my gosh, I kept the same team shoes until very recently, and we were on the team together in 2015. It's hard to get rid of a good pair of shoes.
I was gonna say, good pair of shoes? I don't know.
They
I
were
I
support that.
yellow.
They were yellow. I wonder, I'm just trying to think back if I still have them.
I
I could
hope you
pull them
don't.
out for old time's sake.
I really hope
But
you don't.
yeah, But there's a look in cycling where your sunglasses go, how tall your socks are, like how long people are wearing their sleeves these days. Like there's so much of that that's intimidating. And I think to just kind of throw that to the wind or help people who are, okay, here's what some cyclists do. We don't have to do that. Like that, I think gravel's done that a little bit, but we can also help that as women who've been on all sides of this of kind of helping guide people along, and also the individual side is really emerging. Gravel's doing that to some extent, and it's nice to see breaking some of the rules, the roadie rules.
For sure. I
Hmm.
always say, like, if you're riding a bike, you're doing it right.
Yeah,
Because, I
yeah,
mean, I'll post a photo on Instagram and I'll have some dude chime in that I should get a bike fit. My saddle's too high. And I'm like, well, well. I could learn to descend better apparently too, but that's totally fine. I really, really liked that one. But if you're just like on your bike, like life is good. Like
yeah. Agreed.
it's
But I do love that, with this Gravel Femmes Team thing, they actually have a place to ask these questions. Because I was talking to a sports psychologist a couple days ago for an article I was doing about run clubs. And we did talk about the fact that, like, sometimes, someone who's joining a club and the club just says, like, oh, show up in whatever. This is like especially more for like a cycling club, like show up in whatever or whatever bike. And then you show up and then everyone else
Yes,
has the full
something
spandex,
different.
the road bike, and
Yes,
you're like in jeans on a hybrid and you're like, oh, so I don't
that's not
actually
what they
fit
meant.
in.
Yeah,
This is, yeah. So you actually do them a disservice when we say, like, sure, just show up in
anything
anything. It'll be
goes.
great. And it's
Yeah,
like, no, this is like, you know, yes, we want everyone to do it, but it's also still 70 miles of gravel. And like, you're probably not going to
here's
feel
why you
super
want to wear a chamois.
comfortable
Yeah,
in your
yeah,
jean shorts. Like, unless maybe you have like, actual bike shorts under them and, proper chamois and not wearing underwear with it, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there is like the fine line between like, giving enough advice so someone shows up feeling confident and prepared and also
and
encouraging everyone to join in.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I just cycling is just intimidating. It is. And it's
Absolutely.
like no matter what level you are, it's still a little scary sometimes to go to a group ride or a race. And so to be able to give women that sort of, you're going to be okay and I'm with you is I think it's going to be a really a game changer.
Absolutely, yeah. And I did want to double click on even just, Zwift and how that plays into, the ability now for women to make friends in cycling because I think, having these groups and stuff on Zwift on these online platforms does open it up where, I don't really have anyone in my community to ride with, say. I can get on and join a women's group on Zwift. And like, no, it's not exactly a one-to-one to like getting into a group outside and hanging out with women IRL, but it's something, and that's
For
huge.
sure. Yeah. No, having their support has been incredible. And you're right. These teams could train together as they get to SBT over the next 7 weeks and be on WIFT training together. So there are so many opportunities that this lends itself to, from training to meeting to communities.
Yeah.
I love Zwift. I mean, I'm a fan of a trainer, which I know is maybe not always a popular opinion. I am too old to ride in rain, first of all. Wind, terrifying. Um, but I think it's actually really good for efficiency for like hard, quick workouts. You can do like intensity, but then just like easy trainer. I have just started watching the Gilmore Girls. Okay, I'm done now. I know. I wasn't like I grew up very conservatively and I did not watch like TV. So
Yes,
I'm
Gilmore
really
Girls, that radical show that really
It's
broke
very
a
right.
lot of barriers.
she had a baby at 16,
That's
Like
true. That's true.
that might come
Not
to me through
even
osmosis.
not even married.
He wasn't married. I mean, she's not married yet. She's about to, okay? Like we're getting there. But um but like an easy ride and watching like Gilmore Girls or I lead rides and you can text people and all like the kudos and it's safe and I think it's a good like way to enter the sport and it's super fun. Um but anyway, I get made fun of, but I really do love a trainer because I have a biochemistry background and Amy knows this. Like I am just like a metronome and like a
You,
monotonous person. I am just
yes,
like
you know how to, yeah, stick to the plan, go hard. Yeah, I
so
know.
anyway, Gilmore
I love
Girls.
it. The proponent of the trainer lives in California.
Yes.
Where notoriously the weather's always nice, right?
I know. I'm like, oh, it's like windy out.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Is there anything else about the Gravel Femmes team, SBT, etc., that we should put out there for people listening? I mean, how can people follow along with the teams during the race? Like, what's the
Well, so
situation?
on our channel, SBT, you can follow along. We'll have updates for that. There's a spectator zone. Connor, Amal, and SRAM are leading a great spectator zone. There will be fun aid stations. So, yes, and there are still a handful of spots left. If anybody is interested in signing up, we'd love to
Join my team
add a few
or
more.
anybody else's
Yes,
team.
join Allie's team. That would be amazing. Yes. So it'll be really fun to watch and see. I'm looking forward to that as much as anything this year.
I think Amy, you should join my team. But yeah, it's so cool. I was talking to Kate Verno, and it's just the ride leaders. I know my heart just swells when I talk about her, but the ride leaders, we all are like texting each other, going, "Wouldn't it be cool if we were all just on the same team?"
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I
I'm
know
talking
that's a
my dream
problem.
team.
Yeah.
I want to ride
Yeah,
SBT with
seriously.
Ellen Noble. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
no kidding.
I
Yeah.
know. When I opened the page, I was just like, I mean, I'm almost glad that I'm not forced to choose right now because I could not pick which
Yeah. Oh,
teams.
for
It
sure.
was
Yeah.
just, I'm
Yeah.
like, all of them, all
I
of
would tell
them.
you most people who yeah, put in their names, they were just like, yeah, I'll take anybody. I love all of these women. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, you're not alone.
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna have a great time, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. I know it's gonna play out beautifully, but I think you're building something, Amy, once again, that's just by saying yes and showing up for women, like we've all showed up for each other throughout the years. And
Thank you.
I'll save a t-shirt for you.
Thank you for being part of it. Really
Molly, you get a
excited about
t-shirt
it.
too.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I love you two so much. Tell everyone, let's finish up with where everyone can find and follow you before we close out.
Okay. Go for it, Allie.
Well, Ali Tetrick here. You can follow me on the socials at AM Tetrick, AMTETRICK, and you can look for the t-shirts. But if you want to check out one of the AMT bandanas, just Google Ali Tetrick bandanas, and it goes back to getting more girls on bikes. So see you on the socials, and if you have any questions, always slide into those DMs. I'm not shy.
Amazing. Amy Charity here. Best places. Amy M Charity on the social, a little less regularly. And then SBT GRVL is the other best place to reach me.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. This was so much fun.
This was
I
really
also
great. Thank you, Molly.
It is so great. Thank you so much. And does your shirt say bookmarks are for quitters?
It does.
Okay, thank you. Gravel Femmes Challenge. Here we go. Hashtag watch the femme.
I love it.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Strong Girl Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely head over to wherever you listen to podcasts and rate, review, and of course, subscribe so you never miss another episode. And head over to stronggirlpublishing.com to check out all of the books by Strong Girl Publishing's authors, including Molly Herford, Misha Powell, and so many more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.